Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, checking out the Purdue spring game from, of course, West Lafayette Ross-Ade Stadium. Jeff Brom completing his second season with a blowout, humiliating, embarrassing loss at the hands of Auburn, 63-7. However, Brom's first two seasons have to be considered a raving success, despite the marginal 13-13 record. That's 7-6 with the bowl victory. The first season, that's also 6-7. This past season with a bowl loss to Auburn. That's 9-9 in the Big Ten, considering winning 9 games in the Big Ten after winning 3 games in the Big Ten over 4 seasons previous to Jeff Brom. And he also took the Boilers to 2 consecutive bowl games after the program had not been to 2 straight bowl appearances since 2011 and 12. All right, let's get to the spring game and some of the things that stood out to me during the coverage on the Big Ten Network. Please, of course, subscribe to the channel. If you have yet to dive into the videos, please do so. Then I am sure that you, if you're a hardcore college football fan, for the smart fan, that you will choose to subscribe to the channel. Share the videos if you so choose, and of course, like and comment. That helps build the channel. All right, again, Jeff Brom with the consecutive bowl appearances, 13-13 record, known for the passing attack. Now, the excitement and credibility that he has brought, in addition to the move that he made during the offseason, which may be the most important move or lack thereof in this Purdue program in many years, bypassing an offer from his alma mater, which would have to be considered, despite the woes of 2018 at 2-10 under Bobby Petrino, a better football program over the last 10 to 15 years in Louisville, and his alma mater in the ACC. Jeff Brom decided to stay at Purdue. So that certainly helped this recruiting class, which finished in the top 25 of the nation and brought in 4 4-stars. I can guarantee you, without looking up the numbers, that it has been forever since Purdue has brought in 4 4-stars. All right, so there's a positive vibe, and the emergence of Rondell Moore in particular has been great on this recruiting class and brought excitement and much glamour to the program, much attention to the program. Something else that brought attention to the program this past football season, unfortunately, even though his parents, certainly were very graceful and very gracious in talking about his impact on the football program and on Purdue's impact on him. That's, of course, Tyler Trent, who was in a number of ways honored during the broadcast today, honored during the spring game, and his name has been put on the entranceway to the stadium, one of the entranceways to the stadium, and what a tremendous impact he had on all of us in realizing how valuable life is, among other things, and dedicating his life to his parents, his father, and to the Lord. All right, let's get back to the storylines of Purdue football on this day. Defensive lineman George Karlaftis, he's 1.5 miles away from the stadium. That's where he grew up. That's where he lives. And he is, fortunately for Purdue, a fan, and therefore fan converted to player. As just a freshman, he's already number 1 on the depth chart. He's that good. Number 4 at his position of strong side defensive end. Number 1 player in Indiana, and the 59th rated overall player, regardless of position. We're talking elite player signing with Purdue, and already made his presence known with a sack and a number of disruptive plays during the spring game. That's George Karlaftis. All right, defensive back Jalen Graham was also featured, another early enrollee out of 4, top 20 player out of Michigan, number 57 rated athlete. All right, no Elijah Sindelar in this game. He is definitely the number 1 and clear starter at quarterback for Purdue. He has been dealing with some knee issues, and they held him out of the spring game. He asked to play. He was interviewed on the sideline and said, I wanted to play. I asked to play. I'm fine. I'm good. And so you got to think that under normal game conditions, he would be fine and cleared to play, but was not allowed to play. He talked about his goals for 2019, and one was completion percentage, coming off a 56% completion percentage career. I believe he was in the low 60s last year. He wants to raise that to 75%. Otherwise, he talked about intangibles of being a leader, not competing for the job as he has in the past with David Blau, but being a leader, clear-cut leader on this football team, and trying to win a championship. Elijah Sindelar, 20 touchdowns, 13 interceptions in his career with the Boilers. And his big season came in 2017 when they won the bowl game over Arizona, and he finished with 18 touchdowns and 7 picks. All right, running back has many questions. DJ Knox and Markel Jones, two of the top 10 runners in the history of the program, both gone. You've got a couple of running backs who are veterans who haven't played a ton, but got some playing time and some yardage in 2017. Ontario Fuller and Richie Worship. Both of those players out for this game, but 325 2 touchdowns for Fuller in his career, 390 yards and 5 touchdowns for Worship, so they'll be counted upon this season. Missing the top 2 players from last year and also the expected top 2 players from this year. Obviously, they had to go deep on the depth chart to reach for Alfred Armour and Alexander Horvath, a couple big fullback types who ran the ball most of the time for both teams, or for the one team, I should say, because there was not a matchup of 2 teams, but actually the offense versus the defense, with the defense winning 53-39. Redshirt freshman quarterback Jack Plummer was the starter. Again, there was only one starter in this game, offense versus defense. He is the 22nd rated pro-style quarterback coming out of high school football in 2017. Sophomore walk-on Aiden O'Connell also got some reps as Nick Sipe was injured. And, of course, we talked about Elijah Sindelar. The tight end position was featured. That could be a precursor for this fall. That's expected because Bryson Hopkins was one of the premier players on this team last season. Of course, Rondell Moore got all the attention, and rightfully so. And he hogged the ball, and rightfully so, with 114 catches. But Hopkins at tight end, 34 catches, 17 yards per reception, held out of this game due to some injury issues there that are not serious. We also had a couple tight ends featured in Payne Durham and also Darius Pittman, who combined for 1 reception last season. So they're going to see the field far more in spelling Hopkins and also filling that 2 tight end role for Purdue. So expect the tight end to play a big role in the offense coming up this year. Wide receivers for Purdue, aside from Moore, are on alert. Jared Sparks caught 28 passes last year. Jackson Anthrop, 8 receptions last year. Would normally be expected to take on a bigger role, but Purdue's recruiting class was heavy on wide receiver, as influenced by Rondell Moore. You've got David Bell coming into the program, the 19th rated receiver in college in high school football, coming out of Indianapolis. Milton Wright, 30th rated wide receiver. He comes out of Louisville, the same high school as Jeff Brom, and also one Rondell Moore. And then you also have TJ Sheffield out of Tennessee. So 3 pretty good wide receivers highlighted by David Bell coming into the program. They're not enrolled. They'll be in August camp, of course. And so the receivers needed to make a statement that would carry into the offseason and into summer camp to hold off the newbies. The newcomers are on their way for Purdue at wide receiver. All right, let's look at the defense. Defensive coordinator Nick Holt did an outstanding job 2 years ago in taking over one of the worst defenses in the Big Ten and raising it to one of the best. That actually was the turnover and the change and the spark for this team going from dismal to bowl winner 2 years ago was the defense, actually, even though Brom is known for passing game and offense. Nick Holt, an outstanding defensive coordinator. Of course, he the architect of the Ohio State win, in particular in holding down that prolific Ohio State offense. Ben Holt, that's his son. They're pulling him away from Kentucky. Coming from Western Kentucky, where he played, was recruited and signed under his father, and also Jeff Brom at Western Kentucky. Now, Ben Holt, All-Conference USA performer at linebacker with 116 tackles, and 11.5 tackles for loss comes to Purdue. So that's going to be a big boost to this defense. You also really need to look at the pass rush because this was talked about the entirety of the game. They had to blitz to rush the passer last year. To put any heat on the quarterback, they had to blitz. And, of course, you can't do that over and over and over. You expose the secondary. You show your hand. And they're going to need the front four to put some pressure on. That's where you enter Mr. Karlaftis. And now the outside linebacker and Ben Holt. All right, another storyline and expected impact player would be redshirt freshman safety Elijah Bell. Rondell Moore was interviewed. What else can this kid do? He caught 114 and 14 total touchdowns last year, 2 of those rushing. He can't squat any more weight. He's at like 660. It's ridiculous based on his size. And he was actually asked about that. What's your goal? Are you going to add on more weight to your squat? He's like, let's calm down here a little bit. I'm basically maintaining, and I'm not a power lifter. I'm a football player. Purdue. We took in the spring game, enjoyed it. Defense wins over the offense. Jeff Brom, heading into his 3rd season, has an interesting situation at defense. They like Jalen Graham coming into the program and also Elijah Bell at safety. George Karlaftis, again, he is the big player. Let me get his name right. George Karlaftis from right there in West Lafayette, one of the top 50 players in the country, according to the 247 composite. And that's not at position. That's overall player. So the defense is going to have more talent. I don't know if they'll have the depth to really stand up against the likes of Wisconsin, Northwestern, etc. And then, of course, Elisha Sindelar is the quarterback this year. He will have inexperience at running back and offensive line, but a plethora of options at wide receiver, of course, highlighted by one of the best and most exciting players in the country in Rondell Moore. Our thoughts on Purdue football. Would love to hear from you. Leave the comments below, and we'll talk some Big Ten football highlighted by Purdue. Right here at Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. More spring recaps coming your way. As we talk to some of the best bloggers, broadcasters, and writers in the industry, including analysis from myself. We'll see you soon.